Radha was a domestic worker who worked for the Sharma family. The family accused Radha of stealing Mr. Sharma's watch and selling it for 50,000 rupees. The Sharma family filed a complaint with the police. The police registered this complaint in an FIR and began conducting their investigation. After their investigation, the police prepared a charge sheet containing the witness statements and the charges against Radha. Then, they arrested Radha and filed this charge sheet in a court. A copy of the charge sheet was also provided to Radha. But what happens now? Since the police have arrested Radha, does that mean she is guilty? Will she get a chance to prove her innocence? Let's find out. In the Indian criminal justice system, even if an accused is arrested, they still have some rights. Article 21 of the Constitution guarantees the right to life to every individual. It states that a person's life or liberty can be taken away only by following a reasonable and just legal procedure. This just and legal procedure has 4 key players. These 4 players are the police, the public prosecutor, the defense lawyer, and the judge. They all work together as 4 strong pillars to uphold justice. The role of the police ends with the filing of the charge sheet, in which they accuse someone of a crime. But just because the police have accused someone of a crime does not mean that they are guilty. In India, every accused person is considered to be innocent until they are proven guilty. Similarly, every accused person has the right to prove that they are innocent in the eyes of the law. Can you guess where this proving of guilt or innocence takes place? That's right, it happens in court. The process of proving someone's guilt or innocence is called a trial. Trials take place in special places called courtroom. There are 2 sides in a trial. One is the accuser, in this case the police. The other is the accused, in this case Radha. In a court of law, these 2 sides are represented by lawyers. The lawyer who represents the side of the police is called the public prosecutor. The public prosecutor uses the evidence gathered by the police to prove that the accused is guilty. Public prosecutor. An interesting title, don't you agree? Although, if this lawyer represents the police, then why are they called a public prosecutor? Well, that's because the public prosecutor does not really represent the police, but the public itself. You see, when a crime is committed, it is considered to be an act against society as a whole, and not just against the affected victim. In our criminal justice system, it is the state, not the affected victim, that accuses a person of committing a crime. Therefore, the lawyer who represents the interests of the state is known as the public prosecutor. For a criminal justice system to be fair and lawful, it has to allow the accused to defend themselves. In fact, this opportunity for the accused to defend themselves is a fundamental right of the people. Article 22 of the Indian Constitution states that every citizen has the right to consult and be defended by a lawyer. Thus, the lawyer who represents the accused is known as a defense lawyer. You may already know that it is not always easy to hire a lawyer. While the state has its own public prosecutors, good defense lawyers are pretty expensive to consult. Therefore, it can be difficult for some people to afford them. That is exactly what happened here. Radha could not afford a lawyer to defend herself. It seems a little unfair that Radha could not afford a lawyer, but the state can, doesn't it? Thankfully, our constitution has a provision that prevents this from happening. Under Article 39A of the Indian Constitution, it is the duty of the state to provide a lawyer to any citizen who is unable to get one due to economic or other disabilities. The article also makes clear that the state has to bear the cost of the lawyer they provide. That brings us to the 4th and final player in the criminal justice system. The public prosecutor and the defense lawyer represent the state and the accused. But it is the judge who decides whether the accused is guilty or not. In the Indian criminal justice system, the judge is like an umpire in a cricket game. The judge is responsible for conducting the trial. This includes the following: calling the public prosecutor and defense lawyer to present their arguments, listening to the witnesses and evidence presented by the lawyers, and finally, judging whether or not the accused person is actually guilty of breaking any laws. But the judge does not just decide if the accused is guilty. Depending on the crime that the accused has been convicted of, the judge also decides the sentence. The judge may either impose a fine on the accused or send them to jail, or both, based on what the law prescribes. So, does this mean that the judge can give whatever punishment they want? Not at all. The judge decides the punishment for the convicted person based on what the existing law prescribes. The Constitution and the law both lay down certain rules of procedure that the key players must follow. To ensure that the criminal justice system is fair, these key players should carry out their roles in a lawful manner. Let's go back to Radha's case to understand the procedure of a fair trial. After the police filed the charge sheet against Radha, the work of the public prosecutor, Mr. Gowda, began. He took the evidence that the police had gathered and began to prepare his case. Mr. Gowda had to use the available evidence to prosecute Radha. To prosecute means to take legal action against someone. Mr. Gowda presented all the evidence he had against Radha to the judge. To ensure a fair trial, he acted impartially. He did not give his opinions, but shared only facts and statements from witnesses. Next, Radha's defense lawyer was given the opportunity to question the prosecution's witnesses. This process, where the lawyer representing one side questions witnesses from the other side, is known as cross-examination. After Mr. Gowda was done presenting his evidence and his witnesses, and Radha's defense lawyer, Ms. Tariq, was done cross-examining the witnesses, the prosecution's role was over. It was now up to Ms. Tariq to defend Radha against the prosecutor's arguments. As Mr. Gowda had done before, Ms. Tariq presented her case before the judge. She made her arguments as to why Radha was innocent. She also showed that the evidence provided by the prosecution was not enough to prove that Radha had stolen Mr. Sharma's watch. Ms. Tariq brought in witnesses who had seen Radha at her home when the watch was stolen. After Ms. Tariq finished presenting witnesses and evidence in defense of Radha, the role of the defense lawyer was complete. It was now time to decide whether Radha was guilty or not. Throughout the trial, the judge carefully heard the witnesses and examined the evidence presented by both the prosecution and the defense lawyers. Then, based only on the evidence presented before the court, the judge decided that Radha was innocent. Since the accused is assumed innocent until proven guilty, it is the job of the prosecutor to prove their guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. This means that all the evidence and witnesses should only point to one conclusion: the accused is guilty. Here, the case presented by the prosecution was unable to convince the judge that Radha was guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. The basis of law in India is the rule of law. The rule of law is a fundamental right guaranteed to us by Article 14 of the Constitution. It states that everyone is equal before the law. Though this fair trial procedure might seem a little bit complicated, it is necessary for the rule of law to be upheld. In this way, every citizen is guaranteed a fair trial by the Constitution. It is only when the key players perform their roles impartially and in accordance with the law that justice can be served. If the judge had assumed Radha to be guilty, or if she had not been provided with a defense lawyer, she might have been sent to jail for a crime she did not commit. Following the fair trial procedure laid down in our Constitution ensures that the criminal justice system of India is in fact just.